If you are single, you may have already met your person, but you just don't know it yet. You may not realize. Sometimes we can be praying about something, we can be asking God for something, but we're not even able to recognize it when we see it. Can you recognize when God is actually answering your prayers? We ask God for things, but sometimes we can push away what God has for us because we're not able to see. We may not understand. The Bible talks about how God will do a new thing, and it says, shall you not know it? And the reason why I'm saying this is because even with the children of Israel, they weren't even able to recognize when God was answering their prayers. So sometimes we have to be more in tune to the Spirit, but not be religious, because sometimes religiousness or being religious can blind us from what God wants to do because it's not coming in the package that we think it should come in. Maybe God may be manifesting your prayer through a package that you're like, nah, that can't be it, because it doesn't look like, sound like what you think it should. When God is doing a new thing in your life, we have to level up to what God is trying to do. Sometimes we put God in a box. We have these expectations of how our prayers should look, how it should manifest, what our person is supposed to look like. We have this list in mind. It's good to have expectations, but sometimes our expectations and our preferences don't line up with what God has. Sometimes your preference is not what God wants to do. Maybe God wants to do something else. That's where the flexibility comes in at. Maybe God is trying to stretch you and grow you to be what you are praying for, what you are seeking God for. Sometimes we're the delay in our lives because we're opposing, because we're like, they have to look like this, they have to sound like this, they have to make this amount of money. All these preferential things that are not standards, that are not really a non-negotiable. A non-negotiable is that you want the person to be respectful. You want the person to have at least a foundation of God and fear God. Because if somebody fears God, then they will be considerate of how to treat you. Doesn't mean they're going to be perfect. Whoever comes into your life, they're not going to be perfect. Nothing is going to be perfect. Otherwise, we wouldn't need God. But it's about, what is God giving you the grace to handle? And God will give you grace for whatever is meant to be in your life. For example, I know a person who, the wife, before they got married, the woman was saved, but the man wasn't. And she said, if you want to be with me, you need to go to church and you need to get saved. And guess what he did? He did just that. But not only did he get saved, he actually became a pastor. It's almost like he was more saved than her in the end. So you can't judge a book by its cover, because you never know how God wants to manifest this thing.